We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. One conversation at a time. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. One conversation at a time.
The Breaking Bread Village.
One conversation at a time.
The Breaking Bread Village.
One conversation at a time.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Breaking Bread Village. I am really excited to have this conversation today. We are going to be talking about sports, high school sports, college sports, and just kind of talk about some of the things that people don't talk about when it comes to this. You know, people get really excited about sports and their children playing, but there are oftentimes some residual effects that happen after you're playing or during playing sports that people don't like to talk about. So I have two people on here today to share their stories and just have this conversation. I'm really excited about it too because we need to have this conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on and then they can introduce themselves. Hello, Carlos. I'm going to bring Daryl on as well. And then Carlos, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. But first, I want to say thank you both for being here. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
My name is Carlos McMath. I am the owner and founder of Next Play Consulting LLC, as well as the newly appointed assistant coach at Northwood University.
Yeah, congratulations on that. And then we'll have, Daryl introduce himself.
Hey, everybody. I am Daryl Stinson. I am a speaker, pastor, founder of Second Chance Athletes, and author of Who Am I After Sports, an Athlete's Roadmap to Discover New Purpose and Live Fulfilled. It is an Amazon bestseller, so really grateful for that and excited to share what I've learned over the years with you all.
Awesome. Well, again, like I said, thank you both for being here because this conversation is one that I've wanted to have for quite some time now because as I told both you guys, and Carlos, you know already, I have three of my boys that play sports. And, sports was always something that was, it's fun for me, right? It's fun to watch. It's very entertaining. I'm a very competitive person. People who know me know I'm very competitive, and my children are too. So I love the competitiveness and the nature of it, right? But, it's a lot of things right now after my children have played sports since they were preschool, right? So they played in the before even starting kindergarten, they played all through school. And now two of them play in college. And I'm seeing some residual effects of that, right? Some different things of, just being kind of apathetic about it or some injuries. I have one of my sons, his finger bends and it's going to permanently be like that because of getting hit in school. And then my other son, he has knee damage that will probably follow him for the rest of his life. So with that said, it's a lot of things that we don't look at, right? When we put our children in this or we encourage or help them follow their dreams. So I want you guys can both kind of tell how you guys started sports because you guys both play sports. So I will let Carlos start. You can kind of tell your story a little bit. And then Daryl, I want you to share yours.
All right. Thank you. Sports is being from Saginaw. And then, my uncle is a really good basketball coach. And my family is an athletic team. Athletes from the men and women. But for the most part, man, I just love the competition. And so I played every sport possible. It was a way for us to stay busy. A lot of our coaches when I was younger, I wouldn't say they were the best basketball coaches or football coaches, but they did the best job of trying to keep us out of trouble as much as possible.
Right.
To the point in which we'll all jump in a 87 Chevrolet and be 12 deep going to Saturday games or going to practice. And that's one of the reasons why I coach. A lot of my coaches from Coach Grayson to Coach West to Coach Mike Bandy, even to my own uncle, Coach Ice McMath. There's so many guys that sacrifice for us. And so that's why I began to play sports, and it was easy to do competitively. But then also what it allowed me to do actually is build a lot of my character and the reason why I'm, successful today. And so that's why I love sports. The story can go on and on, but I feel as though it was a great way for us to stay active. Even though some guys fell to the wayside, nevertheless, like you still had that passion and understanding that, anything is possible once you all come together and have a like-minded, be like-minded and have like-minded goals.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's see, Daryl.
Hey. So, yeah, man, I played at Central Michigan University. I'm originally from Jackson, and had a full ride scholarship to play at CMU. And just like many other people, I thought that sports was the way I was going to get my whole family out of the hood. And being a 6'5" athlete that was all-star track as well. I had very much. I always say it this way: it wasn't a matter of if I was going to the league; it was a matter of when. And so, that was my hope. And then, the story goes, I got injured and had to deal with the fact that I wasn't prepared for life after sports. So, I'm passionate about helping other people figure out, I always say it this way, give athletes a second chance to succeed in life without the demands of sports. Because I know we say student athletes, but we know it's athlete student. And so I really want to give those people the opportunity through scholarships, through coaching, through mentoring.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, because both of you guys got injured. I know Carlos got injured playing football. And that's one thing that I want to talk about, how a lot of students and parents don't have they don't have that plan B for their children. I know, when my children were coming up in sports, everybody thought their kids was going to the NHL, the NFL, the NBA. I mean, everybody, right? And especially when you live, as I was sharing with you, Carlos, before we got on, when you live in a smaller community, Johnny is the best, right? Everybody loves Johnny. They come to the game just to watch Johnny, and everybody thinks Johnny is going. Johnny goes to college, and he realizes, and this is what I told my boys, I said, you have to understand, when you go to college and play ball, you are now with hundreds of number one athletes, right? They all came, they picked up number ones from their school. So now you have to compete with that. And I don't think a lot of people are prepared for that. And children sometimes feel insecure. They feel a little defeated because they realize they really not as good as their parents kind of pump them up to be, right? A lot of times it's the parents, right? So what do you think about that in regards to how people don't really prepare their children realistically for, and listen, okay, so let me just preface it with this. I am one person that's very optimistic, and I believe in speaking life and people and let people live out their dreams, right? But we also have to keep things real, right? So what do you guys think in regards to how, parents and some coaches, don't prepare the students for that reality?
I guess I'll start. I think one of the biggest things is that you have the issue of parents sometimes living through their kids. And we understand that. We all, you want to be in my opinion, you want to be a great parent if you didn't want the best for your child. But what we fail to do is sit down and have honest conversations about not only just their abilities on the playing surface, but then also off the surface. Too many times we have families that are so willing to support them in the athletic realm, but then fail them in the academic realm. And when it comes to developing just the overall home environment. And so then what happens is, as a coach, I've seen it as a coach, as a player, and etc., is that they expect the coach to develop discipline for 2 hours out of a day when the rest of the 22 is hectic. Right? It's undisciplined. It's in an undisciplined environment, but yet you still have those same parents that say, hey, but I want my kid to make it to the league. I still want my kid to have a D1 scholarship, but we're not putting them in a D1 environment when it comes to support academically, but then more so in today when it comes to socially. A lot of our kids today are socially behind or don't have the ability to articulate effective enough to advocate for themselves. And so I'm not in a position, because I may be recruiting some of these kids, but I'm not in a position to say that everybody does it. But what I can tell you is that through all my experience as a college football player at Wayne State University, and then going on a coach and recruit guys, sometimes it's such a disadvantage at the conversations that's happening in their households. And so now everybody is so dependent on this person making it, quote unquote, making it without understanding to take the pride that they're even on the team. I had listen, at the end of the day, I'm responsible for my own comments. And so I say this, but what you have today, what you have as a coach, as a basketball coach, what I noticed, and then I let it go because Stinson, I can talk a lot, is that when you're dealing with a well-to-do family, right? And in particular, I'm just going to be blunt about it. Sometimes when you're dealing with parents that are not from an urban setting, right? You like that, Stinson? I cleaned that up, right? Not from an urban setting.
Urban. Yeah, when you say urban, it sounds really nice.
They're more focused on their child being good enough to make the team.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come into a child from an urban setting, we want our kids to be good enough to what? Make it to the league.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's levels to this, baby. You know, we skipping levels. And it because you're talented on the court does not mean that you're going to be good enough and be an effective person in an academic environment. And so those are the conversations that I implore parents and family members and guardians to start having. And it's not so much having a plan off the surface. We got to be able to take our talents, take these student athletes' talents or these athlete students' talents and use them in other avenues and start piquing their interest. Don't force a young man or female or however they identify to just be an athlete. Show them their skills and traits that can be applied to engineering, can be applied to welding, can be applied to communication, et cetera, et cetera. We can do that. You know, we don't focus on it because that's not the low hanging fruit.
Right. No, that's true. Daryl.
So go ahead and restate the question for me.
Oh, sure. Just do you think that we prepare our students for the reality, or our players for the reality of what's to come when they sign up for, high school and college ball?
Nah, man, ain't nobody thinking about that. Everybody think Lil Johnny and Lil Billy and Lil Susie and Nene gonna make it, man. And I don't blame them. I can tell you what part of the problem is this thing called athletic identity. I asked myself, I heard some of the most motivational speakers come in and speak to our team. I never forget Danny Bugs, who he spoke into almost every NFL team out there. He did a very powerful example. He said, how many of you think you're going to go to the NFL stand up? Everybody stood up, right? Mm-hmm. And then he said, I want everybody there's 106 players in the meeting room at the time. He said, everybody sit down except for 2-3 people. And he said, that's how many actually going to make it. Mm-hmm. And you know what everybody thought? It's going to be me. Right. And so, I think the way that we approach a student athlete to prepare for life after sports needs to be changed, because we tell them to, if you believe that you'll be the best and you don't have doubt, you're going to make it. If we tell them that not to have doubt, we told them not to believe that they're going to be the best player ever, to don't let nobody think that they're better than you. But then at the same time, we try to tell them to prepare for failure. It just goes against athlete psychology. So the method that we've coined and licensed at Second Chance Athletes is the Dream Big, Dream Beyond method. And what that does is it doesn't prepare an athlete for failure. It actually prepares them for success. So what we tell them to do is dream big. All right, I want you to think about how high you can go. You're going to be the next Michael Jordan. You're going to be the next Michael Phelps. You're going to be the next Danica Patrick. You're like whoever, right? And then we say, okay, now that you've done that, because we want you to succeed in sport, right?
Right.
But we say after you've done that, now dream beyond. Yeah. Okay. What are you going to do 20 years after you an all pro? What are you going to do 20 years, and they start to think about that. That way, if they get injured or they don't make it to the next level sooner than what they thought that they would, they have a plan. Because putting together a plan B is preparing to fail, and that goes against everything that we ingrained in their minds. So we actually prepare them to succeed, and then if they transition sooner than what they're ready for, they have a plan.
Right. You guys both made really good points, because I know for myself, one of my sons, he plays football, and he right now is at a point where he's at his 3rd year in college, and he's kind of lost as to what's next, because he's kind of overplaying football because his body has been beat up so much, but that's all he loved his whole life, right? He literally was unable to see anything else, no matter how much I'm like, hey, it may be something else out there. That's all he envisioned. So now he's at a point where it's like, okay, what do I do with myself? And I will be very transparent as a young, and I'm not making excuses, I'm just being honest, as a young single parent. I told my kids at a very young age that for you to go to college, because I didn't have a lot, we didn't have a lot. We barely made it, for you guys to go to college, you have to go on a academic scholarship or a athletic scholarship. I mean, that was the option, right? So it was like you have to succeed in one of these. And I mean, they were very naturally, athletic. They did really well at that. They were tall. They were big. I mean, they had all the different things. And it's like, okay, well, this is the route. And yes, I mean, they didn't focus as much on, academics. I will admit that they were focused on sports because and we do live in a town where we live. Sports is very big, where people, because it's not much other stuff to do here. So people focus on sports, but I like what you guys said in regards to having that next play, that second chance, because sometimes kids, once they graduate and sports are over, because that's the reality for most college players, is that it's over after college. I mean, that's most of their reality. What is next? What do they do next? And especially if they're dealing with like concussions or, different injuries. I mean, what do you guys feel about concussions? Because now we're seeing, a lot of documentaries of pro athletes of admitting that, they play with concussions and play with a lot of injuries. What do you guys think about that coming out now? Because I don't think that enough people are talking about concussions, in my opinion.
I just don't think we know what to do with it. So, concussions is obviously a real issue, and it's something that's a very serious thing. I joke about it. Whenever I forget something or lose my train of thought, I tell my wife, I say, man, it must be the concussions. But it's some truth to every joke, ain't it? And so, I don't think people know what to do with it. That's one of those things where you just got to get medical attention. You pay attention to signs, losing train of thought, have an inability to focus, blurry vision, heart, trouble sleeping. You just look at some of the signs and then just get them checked out, because you just never know. Sometimes, and especially when you think about CTE, and I know, one of our partners is Pro Athletes Transition, who, the CEO and founder of that is Brandy Winans, who her husband is Jeff Winans, and he passed away because of CTE. And so when you think about the movie Concussion, her husband was one of the reasons why that movie was inspired. And so, it's a very serious issue. And, they didn't know he had a lot of issues until they got the scan. And it's like, oh, this is why the problems are happening. This is why these outbursts of angers are happening. So I say I'd rather be safe than sorry. If you played a high contact sport, it doesn't have to be football. Basketball, you get some head injuries as well. Just get them checked out, because the soonest time, the best time to catch cancer is when you first spot it. So if you spot it early on, there's some things you can do with the advancement of medicine now to be able to remedy that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things, because when we were playing, it wasn't as and I played from 05 to 07. At Wayne State. I think the biggest thing is that we have to start, and this kind of goes back to your first question, but leads into concussion as well.
Sure.
And you understand this, Vincent, is that, listen, the number one thing, if you play in college football, you trying to make the travel squad. And so if you trying to make the travel squad, you'll do whatever it takes for you to climb that depth chart just so you can travel. And it's the same thing about staying on the field. Hey, I'm going to stay on the field. Listen, bruh, I got a dinger, bro. Listen, I'm telling you, I don't see what we running. Under 2, defense, okay, what they in? What set? They in 32 set? Okay, good. I got to contain. That's it. Your eyes is blurry. You out there, and then coach pull you out the field. McMath, you going half, and then I ain't going half. I just know if I come off this field, I probably don't make travel squad no more.
Well, that's
not getting in.
Yes, one of my children went through that, where he played with an injured finger because he was afraid of losing his spot. And how much do you guys? And I know you guys are coaches, so I don't know if you will talk about this, but a lot of times coaches, even in the high school level, they really push the kids to keep playing despite some of these injuries, and which is a little bit disturbing sometimes, because we know it's true. It also goes back, and I'm speaking about, the male side of it, a lot of times where it's this idea that, man up, just do it. I know, I've heard stories, I've seen it where it's like, oh, you'll be all right, just get out there. But really they're injured and they should be sitting out that game. But because this is like the championship game, or because this is, they're encouraged to still play by the coaches, not just the students.
Right.
I mean, am I telling the truth or what?
The pressure is unreal, and it's. I wish I had a clean answer for you, but it's part of the game. It's ugly. It's not. It's not clean. It's not pretty. You know, it's part of what you sign up for. And I honestly don't have a good solution other than nobody knows your son, your daughter like you do. You know, the coaches is trying to win games. The athletic trainers is, you know, only have so much power. And you, as a parent, have to stand up and fight for your child. If you see something wrong, you got to say something. If you see something's off, you got to say something, because you can't expect nobody to love your baby like you love your baby.
Right. And also we got to put the onus on the player. And it's tough to do when you say put the onus on an 18-year-old kid that has the sole focus on playing. Right. But then it comes back to what I said earlier. If we're having these tough conversations at home, if we're being transparent at home, if we're learning as much as we can at the crib, then it's easier for us to then, again, like I said earlier, advocate for ourselves, articulate for ourselves. Yeah. And we always want to get to the next play without first understanding what that play is. We want to get pushed in the right direction, but if I'm not able to like stand up for myself and articulate, like, hey, at the end of the day, this hurts, or at the end of the day, I don't feel well. And I think now with this new generation, they're doing a better job of it. But sometimes as coaches, we are stuck in how the way we were raised and how the way we were coached.
Yes, because I need y'all to be honest with me here. Yes, be honest with me here, because listen, I know, you know, kids at 18, 19 should be able to advocate for themselves. And when parents are not there and they're away, and the kids and some of these coaches, now I'm keeping it real. Some of these coaches know for a fact that this student wants that spot. And they do sometimes play mind games where it's like, you know, you just need to suck it up. And yeah, like you said, it's a part of the game. And then again, some of these kids end up with lifelong injuries, and it is definitely a choice of theirs, but it's just so interesting. It's always been very interesting to me when, you know, kids are 16, 17 years old and they can't do anything for themselves. We do everything, right? And then they turn 18 and go off to college, and then magically we expect for them to be these adults, right? And it just drives me nuts, because it seems like there's no transition for them between high school and college to like transition into adulthood. So that's a whole nother topic that I like to talk about. But no.
Let's stay on there though. Let's stay on there. Sure. Because one of the best thing one of my biggest blessings is that I did get redshirted. And a lot of times we don't talk enough about the importance of being red. A student athlete can have all the talent in the world, but the thing that is not measured enough is their maturity.
Yeah.
And if a student athlete, if a person isn't mature, how do you think they're going to be successful in an atmosphere that celebrates maturity?
Right.
And so since they don't have the maturity, then they're not meeting their quote unquote potential. And without them meeting their potential, now they're not playing. And like you said earlier, now they're from a smaller city. They've never been played. They have never, not been the man or the female. They have not been the star player. So now they have to adjust to that. And because they don't have the support from the family, because the family themselves have been able to play second tier, then they don't know how to encourage them once they're redshirt, or if they're not the man or the woman. And so then now home isn't supporting me. I think my coaches don't like me because I ain't playing. They redshirt, so they must not like me. My teammates is kind of laughing at me a little bit because we all got recruited together, and y'all don't travel squad. Y'all playing, and I ain't. I'm sitting at the crib, and while y'all out on the road. So it's a battle right there. And then don't get me started on the social life. Yeah, you're part of the team, but when it's time to play, you in the jersey, everybody else can pass. Come on, Stinson, you know what I'm talking about, baby. You can be good as you want to, but you standing on that sideline, ain't no passing your stuff. Hey, you on the team, but that's it. Yeah. And so they go. If you're an athlete, you go through a lot, but still be required to still put that same amount of work in so you can develop. And if you don't have that support system, and if you're not mature enough, it can overwhelm a lot of the best. It overwhelms the best of us.
Yeah.
Dude, that's why, last thing, that's why the business of sports psychology has went up so high.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is what it like. If you got a chance to, and anybody that's watching this, look at that commercial with the new Heisman commercial with Baker Mayfield. Yeah, it's a nice little hee ha ha video, but they're actually making fun of him. And the commercial goes, I think it's Charles Woodson has a blowhorn and he's yelling at him, and he can never do anything right unless it's pressure. If there's no pressure, he can't even open the doorknob. But now since it's pressure and he's yelling at him, he opens the doorknob. Imagine understanding that, right? As a 19, 20-year-old, and then now being told to go out into a world and now provide for your whole family and your home. Yeah. And so then when they get to the league, then you wondering, well, why they making a show called Broke?
Right.
Because they were mental, they didn't have the mental stability nor the support system to remain stable and advance.
Right.
So everything plays a part, like you said from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Daryl?
Oh my God. y'all talking about some real stuff, man. Yep. Here's my philosophy as a leader is I try to get wins. You know, it's really hard to push against the current. Sometimes you got to figure out how to join the current and pivot. And I tried early on in our business to have some of these hard conversations with parents, but they be so dedicated and they be so committed and they don't be listening. And the kids just want it so badly. Yeah. And I reflected on it. And I talk about this in my book, Who Am I After Sports? I say that for me, you have to de-idolize the profession of sports. Yeah. You know, I don't know how it is in every hood, but where I'm from, there was 2 ways that you was making it out. Rapping, playing sports. Yeah. And so I did both. It just so happened that I was more athletic than I did have bars. and I'm telling you, man, we idolize, and this is a perfect story to so somebody can really get this code. I don't think the issue is sports. I think the issue is the lack of exposure to other professions. Yes. And so my best example is, I'll never forget, there was this guy.
That is so true.
In my class, he was the best at accounting homework. I never forget. He used to be done in like 20 minutes with his accounting homework. And I'm a smart dude. I got majority all A's in high school, right? Oh, good. This dude was I knew how to cheat. Oh, okay. Right. And so this dude, I mean, was done in 20 minutes, and I was over here really trying. It took me at least 45, and I'm smart. Yeah, yeah. That's how smart he was. Mm-hmm. He could have been a fire accountant for a Fortune 50 company. Forget 500, Fortune 50. Hey, y'all know what he's doing, right? Rapping. Yeah. Because that's what we hold in esteem. Right. So why would I do this thing that nobody gonna celebrate and call me a lame and make fun of me when I can rap and be cool? So we have to start celebrating other professions other than rapping and sports and other stuff that we think is culturally acceptable. We need to celebrate accounting. We need to celebrate like yoga dancing. I don't care. Whatever is whatever is your child's passion and gift, encourage them to be successful in that career path, because I believe you can build streams of revenue from any area of purpose. You don't have to have one thing. You don't even have to get the most high-paying job, because you can get an average-paying job and figure out how to manage your money and build streams of revenue. So we need to encourage our children to operate in their purpose and stop trying to choose the best degree. I don't care about degree. I care about your purpose. I care about your gift. If you have certain gifts, you can monetize that from anywhere, because when you do what you do, nobody can do it like you. The goal is to be the best at what you have with what you have. And so that's just my thing, man, is I think we have to stop idolizing the career of sports, and we have to create opportunities for exposure to other career paths.
That is so true. That's really a good point, because like you said, a lot of times these children are not exposed to different I don't know, just ways of life and just different, even like trades, sometimes learning a trade or, what have you. A lot of times that is so true that it's like, well, sports is because they're good at it, right? So when you see it's good, it's like, and then let's just be honest, it's less work for the parent because, as a parent, to expose them, you have to take them somewhere. You have to get them hooked up with different things. And if you lazy, I mean, let's just be real, and all I have to do is drop him off at school. He has practice after school, I mean, so that's a very, very good point.
But you just touched on one of the number one problems. You said it's easier for the parent.
Yeah.
And I think if we're going to be real, we're going to talk about the athletes and the coaches and the administrators. We have to talk about the parents. And I have to say it this way, y'all. Listen, I wouldn't be who I was today if it wasn't for my mama. So I'm not trying to put more onus on the sisters. But what I am trying to say is, listen, Superwoman, it takes a village to raise a child. Ask for help.
Yeah.
And I ain't talking about financial help only. I'm talking about mentorship opportunities. I'm talking about moving from where you at and where you feel comfortable to somewhere that has a better program to support your child. Like you got to make some sacrifices because you can't carry all of this weight by yourself. I watched my mama scrape and scratch and claw just to make sure I had shoes for the season. Yeah. And so I understand the pressure. I'm not trying to get on the ladies. That's not what I'm trying to do. If anything, it's the men that choose to be absent. And the father's like, then they want to show up to the games, but they don't want to pay for no groceries.
Don't even go there.
so don't even get me started, man. But that's the problem. And so yo, don't Uncle Joe. If you man enough, you got enough money to buy tickets to the game and afford popcorn and hot dogs, throw $20 at some shoes, pay my admission fees, right? Pay for me to get into a camp where I can actually get exposure. Because ain't there this unspoken expectation that when I make it, I'm somehow you're gonna be the first one to ask for money. Don't ask me for no money when you ain't give me no money. It's amazing. I knew I had a lot of cousins. When I made it to college, I had a lot more cousins. So I was just like, dang, I didn't know you was my cousin. It was third and fourth and fifth cousins coming out. Hey, that's my dog. I'm like, man, I ain't even seen you. I didn't even know you like that. But they want something. And so, man, I don't know, man. I don't know how it was where you from, but where I'm from, man, we need the community to step up and rally around our young men and women.
Most definitely, more on a consistent basis. And it's weird. Well, not weird, but that's how one of the ways I began to understand and start really understanding my next play was that when I was playing football and then when I got hurt, I was blessed enough to actually join the debate team. The policy debate team at Wayne State, which was already ranked high. And the only reason why I joined the team was because I was taking a public speaking class. That's it. And so, I was blessed enough to actually earn a debate scholarship, which now we're talking about. And then one of the things that I love talking about is understanding different avenues of earning a scholarship and or having your tuition paid for, And so my debate scholarship was 4 times as much as my football scholarship. What I mean? I bet, baby, you D1, so you may not get this, but on D2 level, D2, the way you make that money stretch is partials. Yes. You know what I mean? You can bring in guys on presidential scholarships with great academics, and or you can give them a partial scholarship and you make them dollars stretch. And JUCO is a little bit different. I gotta give them a piece of chicken and hopefully they get some food. And then we got them at JUCO, baby. But for the most part, it's just understanding the different avenues. And one of the things we don't talk about enough in Michigan, and it kind of hurts, my new institution a little bit, but is understanding the TIP program, tuition incentive program. And that's huge.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's one of the biggest things. Like even when we get to talking about getting a scholarship, athletic scholarship, this, that, and the third, it's time for parents and guardians and whoever, looking out for these coaches too, looking out for these students' best interests in high school, is start understanding, hey, is this kid be TIP eligible? Will this kid be TIP eligible? That's one of my number one questions when I asked about a kid when I was coaching in a community college was, hey, are they TIP eligible? Because if they are, then bam, we can get them this off. This, the state will take care of this. All right, if they Pell eligible, they full Pell, great. So now they TIP, Pell, they good to go. We cheap. They all right. Now,
Right.
if we need to make ends meet, okay, cool. I offer them a scholarship if that's needed. But what I just said was, right now, I believe full Pell is roughly around $3,600 a semester. That's full Pell. But TIP take care of all the tuition. Now, it depends on if you're going to school in your area, if you're going to 4 years, set right.
Yeah.
But that's free money
Yes.
that they don't have to pay back. And we don't have them. We don't understand in those plays, right? And when I mean next play, I mean your next situation, right? And that's one of the ways that we talk is because we are inundated with play, make the best play, get a big play. Yeah. And when I talk about the next play is who you are when that made after that play is made, right? Who are you when you take off your jersey?
Yeah.
Because everybody got to take the jersey off. Everybody got to take the helmet off. When that time comes, who are you? What characteristics have built you? And so I think it's incumbent on the parents as well as the coaches to make sure that we're teaching about transferable skills. As a competitor, I understood as a football player that I wanted to be the best. But then when it came down to being a debater, I wanted to be the best. And then when it came down to academics in law school, I wanted to be the best. Right now, when I became a coach, I wanted to be the best. When I was director of diversity and inclusion, I wanted to be the best. So my next plays were based on my competitiveness that I was taught. Not in sports, though, from my mom working as hard as she can to make sure that we can keep the heat on and not heat the house up with the stove. Yes. See, that's the difference.
Yes.
Like, and that's why I say, like, I'm built a little bit different when you understand that you and your brother is eating, but your mom at the kitchen table crying because it's not enough food to go around. So when you got that in the back of your mind with your competitiveness, losing is not an option.
Right.
It's
in
not.
life.
You just
right.
always
Like in life. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, listen, y'all are preaching tonight because Daryl, when you were talking about some of that stuff about being consistent, and Carlos, you mentioned that too, and just showing up for games, I had to take myself off the screen because I didn't want my facial expressions to show too much because that's real. That is real talk. People don't understand that just the games are not all that sports is made up of. It's a lot of finances that go into it, right? It's hard. I mean, trying to make sure they do it because it's something they love. But Daryl, I like what you said about, it takes a village. And that's very, very true. And Carlos knows. Now, Carlos coached my son. I believe in the village. I'm like, talk to him, whatever you need to do, because my son was not mature enough yet to get that type of responsibility. Because once you play college ball, you think you done made it, right? It's like this is past high school. All your homies and your friends didn't make it to college, so you feel like you're on top of the world. And sometimes that big head, and then just being just confused on what direction you're going while trying to balance college. Is a lot. So you need that village, like you said. And Carlos was a part of the village for me and still is. He still talks to my son. So I truly appreciate what you said about that, because that is very true. And Shelly had commented earlier as well and was telling you, congratulations, Carlos. She was a part of that village too with my son. Yeah. So, that's real talk. So Daryl, I want you to tell us a little bit about your story, some of the mental and emotional things that you went through after playing, because I don't think people understand that when, again, like you talked about, when the parents say this is your only, like, this is basically all you are, right? Essentially, this is all you are as an athlete. You don't have people really supporting you the way they need to. And I'm not saying this is your story. I'm just saying in general, when people have those issues and then they have to try to balance school and athletics and trying to see, I'm not doing well at this, but I still want to play. It's a lot of pressure. I know my son, he got playing for Carlos. He, slacked around. His grade slipped. He couldn't play at this big championship game. He was devastated. And I have never seen him study so much in my life to be able to get back, to be able to play. But a lot of times, they don't have that support. So, Daryl, if you want to tell us a little bit about your story and what you went through, so people can understand that other side of it.
Let me give you the Cliff Notes version. Let me say this.
Sure.
Number one, I have a TEDx talk out there called Overcoming Rejection.
Yeah, I watched it.
Listen to it. It'll be helpful to some. I've got a couple of YouTube videos up. I got free live stream series. I bring on a lot of people who talk. I published a book, Who Am I After Sports? I encourage every parent to get it. your child's going to need it, especially if their identity is tied into their sport and they want it so bad. I say that because I just can't encapsulate it in the short amount of time we have, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. Is that, sports was not what I did. It was who I was. I in my mind, there was no way I was not going to make it. And I worked hard. And the thing is, most people never work their hardest at anything.
Mm-hmm.
Most people give 70, 80%. So they really don't know what it feels like to work 100, 110% and fail.
Yeah.
Because if you work 100 and 110%, that's all you have. And if you fail, then that tells you that told me that no matter how hard I work, it ends in failure.
Oh, okay. Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And so to me, I didn't have anything left to give. And then people were like, "Oh, well, what's your next passion? What are you passionate about?" I'm like, "I'm passionate about sports."
Right.
And so
right.
I got injured, and I got injured actually at the end of my true freshman year. I should have accepted my full ride scholarship and just focused on my education, but instead I begged the coaches to let me play. And I signed a liability waiver to be able to continue to play the game. And I always say it this way: I was supposed to take a year before I came back from back surgery. I was back starting within 6 months. So I wasn't all the way healed. And then I had an addiction to opioid pills and started selling drugs throughout the state of Michigan. I mean, it's just bad. But the point I want you to get is the length that I went to keep the hope of playing at the next level alive. Because it wasn't just my own pressure and identity in sports. It was the pressure to put my family on the map. And if I didn't make it, in my mind, nobody was making it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I put my body through some dumb things. Long story short, my opioid addiction got so bad that it was thinning my blood to the point where every time I made contact on the field, my nose would bleed. Coaches saw that something was wrong. They kicked me off the team. And at the same time, I had a girlfriend who I was dating for 4.5 years. She left me and got engaged to another man. And I felt like I didn't matter. And then when you have everybody asking you how, asking you about the games, how you doing, man? How CMU? What you need? I got you. All of this stuff as an athlete. And then when I got hurt and I wasn't playing no more, my phone wasn't ringing, text wasn't ringing, nothing was really popping. And so I'm like, see, nobody cares about me outside of my ability to play sports. So what's the point of me being here? And that's where the suicidal thoughts came in. Long story short, I went from 275 pounds to 219 pounds in 4 weeks from trying to starve myself to death. I wrote my suicide letter, and, I lived to tell the story. I had a life-changing experience in the psychiatric unit that gave me hope and purpose beyond sports. And I talk about it in my book, so I'll probably say it better there than I am here. But what I want people to know is this, is the pressure that is on a young athlete to succeed is tremendous. You got to think, what other career field can you come out and as a beginner, entry-level employee, make $300,000? That's not a lot of them. Right. So when you get there and you that close and you fall short, it's a hard failure to deal with. Yeah. And I always say this: if we can buy their jerseys and cheer for them during the game, we have to support them beyond the game. Yeah. And we got to be there for our student athletes. And I know that the majority of us are. The real challenge is getting the athlete to recognize that the power is in the community and to open up and ask for help. And that's really what we specialize in. We work with the athlete. We got a text messaging app where we communicate with them. We have a private community. We blog, we do live shows, but really the text and the app on behind the scenes is what gets people open up. We hop on the phone, we talk to them, we know how to speak to an athlete, psychology. And so we're here to support the student athlete. We're here to help them find their voice. We're here to help them leverage their network. The most underutilized resource that an athlete has is their network. Last thing I'll say about mental health is this. Don't be afraid to take medication. It's nothing but a supplement. If your body is lacking something, the supplement supplies it. I'm not suggesting medication for everyone. I'm just telling you that you don't have to be afraid of it. I didn't understand that being clinically depressed, that my body did not produce the same amount of endorphins and serotonin as other people's did. And so it's no different than if you're vitamin D insufficient, that vitamin D supplements will help you. And so I say, look into it. And then the other thing is, don't be afraid to talk to people. I know as athletes, we talk to bottle it all in. Don't show weakness. That stuff is great during the game, but outside of the field, outside of the game, outside of the competition, it's the dumbest advice in the world. You got to talk to people. Open your mouth. Stop throwing in side halfway remarks for help on social media. Half the people don't read it, and there's an algorithm that don't even show it to all of your friends. Reach out to the people in your text message and call for help. Vulnerability is the Batman signal for love. You can't be fully loved if you are not fully known. And so you have to be transparent about your struggle. You can't say I'm feeling down if you're feeling like you want to take your life. Those are two different scenarios. So you have to be transparent about how you feel. And let me just say this, so I can brag a little bit. I am a TEDx speaker. I'm doing my second TEDx next week. I have a best-selling book. Jack Canfield, who has the most books of any human being sold, he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for books sold. He endorsed my book. Co-founder David Meltzer endorsed my book. Chris Broussard wrote the foreword to my book. You know, like I've had a lot of success, and I've coached athletes. I've been on some of the top podcasts in the world. Let me tell you something. I still take antidepressants. I still see a counselor. I'm still a little crazy. What's my point?
Are we all?
You can still be Superman and Superwoman and have kryptonite. You don't have to have it all together. Nobody has it all together. Let me tell you something that I learned from working with people all the way from drug addicts coming off the streets to some of the best top entrepreneurs, entertainers, athletes in the world. Everybody's trying to figure it out. Don't let nobody tell you something different. Just because they're showing you they highlight reels on social media, don't mean they got it all together. So you need to stop comparing your reality to other people's highlight reels. Be happy with what you have. To the world, you may just be somebody, but to somebody, you may be the world.
Yeah, very true. Yes, yes,
definitely.
Yes, Carlos, do you have anything that you want to say about what he said? First of all, I do want to say, Daryl, thank you. Let me just say this real quick, Daryl. Thank you for sharing your story. I do want to give that space and, just make that known that, I always want to thank people for feeling safe enough and, and just in a good space to be able to share their story, because that's important for us to recognize that. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you for giving me the space, because you're normalizing a mental health conversation. Anything that's not normal won't get celebrated. Right?
Yes.
Nobody wants to be the only person in church standing up, clapping, if nobody's standing up, nobody
Except for me. I used to be that person. No, I'm kidding.
You're the only one. You're the only one. Nobody wants to be that person or girl, that gal. We don't want to do anything that's different.
Right.
So when we normalize the conversation, it tells people that this is normal to talk about. And it gives them the freedom. So thank you for normalizing.
No, I appreciate that, especially for being a male. I'm actually having a show next week about mental health, and we're going to talk about depression, and we're going to talk about how it's a lot more normal than people think. But I try to get a male therapist on there as well, because I want more men to feel comfortable with talking about that, because there are a lot of men that go through it. But like you said, it's just this idea that it makes you weak to say that I had a weak moment, and it's like weakness is not bad. Like we all have these ups and downs in life. It's real. It's just a reality. So thank you for that. But Carlos, do you have anything that you want to add to that part of it?
I mean, to be quite honest with you, what we in? We in it's November. Yeah. I had my breakdown in January.
Yeah.
I had my breakdown in January. I was just burnt out, and I was extremely depressed. And so it's the funny thing is that people don't understand that you can still be extremely successful and be extremely depressed at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, like, when in my instance, like, I felt burned out, and I had a conversation with somebody about it, and I was talking to my wife about it, and then it was one of those things, like, I'll be okay. And then I talked to somebody else who recommended me this place called LifeWorks. And that person actually, like, I don't really care about talking about it, was actually Shelly. I went and talked to Shelly. It was a tough time, and I was like, hey, listen, I'm going to step away. And she's like, well, Lois, call LifeWorks. And so, since then, like I've been great. I'm taking my antidepressants, but I think one of the biggest things that we fail to realize too, and everything what my brother just said is accurate, but also we got to realize that we can pass on depression too.
Yeah.
Understanding that the household and the environment pass it along as well. And so we got to get help. Our parents must get help as well. Because every instant, every little thing that becomes a nuisance in the household, at least because I'm the oldest, so I feel it. Now, I don't know if it happens to the youngest a lot, but the oldest feels it. And so the oldest takes it and runs with it. So now, especially when it's a single parent household, I inherit, for lack of a better term, my mother's depression. And so inherent her depression, I try to handle it the same way she did. And that was keep working harder, keep working more. And I'm raised in a church family, so we just pray. Yeah. And you pray about it, you'll be okay. Them demons will get off you. But not understanding that while I'm praying for the demons to get off me, I'm also inviting them back in by looking in looking and absorbing the environment in which I'm in as well. Yeah. And so it's cool to ask for help. And I think one of the biggest things we have to do is understand that we have it at our children today, and including us, we let too much negativity in. Too much. Yeah. One of the best things my pastor, Dr. Marvin T. Smith, said was you got to be able to turn off the TV at night. I can't go to sleep watching me and my wife love watching ID channel. You can't go to sleep watching ID. You go to sleep watching ID. Some of them dreams. You see,
like your mind be crazy. Yes, it'll mess you up.
So it's the same thing. We got to protect what we let in, and we got to protect what we let in. But more importantly, we got to protect what our kids are being exposed to.
Yes,
we want to expose them to better things and give them better resources, but also understand that we also expose them to things that we're not trying to let them see. They peeking out the door too. They seen that, they just see the drink, they just seen you smoking, and it is what it is. But then don't get mad when you do it around them their whole entire life, and then they pick up the habit. It don't make no sense. Right. And so I think it's an opportunity for us to look at everyone involved and say, hey, let's all grow. Let's all understand how we can get to the next play. Because at the end of the day, only thing we can ever do as a coach, as a mentor, as a leadership trainer that I talk about, is my job is to put you in a position to be successful on and off the court. That's it. And so whatever that may look like for you, let me know. And I love what Stinson said earlier about everybody's trying to fit inside this box. There's not a box to fit inside of. We have to stop picking majors and start picking lifestyles. Yes. It's a difference. Don't put me in a major in which you say I can make money from. Put me in a lifestyle that you say I already fit in, and I'll be happy. And too many times you find people working in corporate America that's getting a check that can't stand themselves nor the people they working with.
That's a whole nother yes. Talk about that thing. That's true. Yes. No, you know what? And again, Carlos, I want to thank you too for sharing that story. I wish more men would be more comfortable. And I know it's so hard. So I'm not judging. I'm just saying this is my dream. This is my what I strive for, and to help and just make those spaces for men to feel comfortable sharing that story, because it's so important for us to hear this stuff, because, it's not about judgment. I mean, because who are we to judge, right? We all got stuff, but it's more about understanding like, oh, I'm normal, or, oh, that's normal, for me to feel this way. And like you said, Carlos, it is an energy that we pass on. One rule in my house with my children, especially when they were younger, was to always send them out the house. Like we didn't argue in the morning. Like that wasn't what we did. Like, so before they went to school, my thing was whatever I need to talk to them about or whatever we need to talk about, we'll talk about later, right? When you get home, because before you go to school, for you to be a successful student and also just a successful human being, right? You need to lead. You're feeling empowered that you can rule the world, right? So if I start off with, mad and angry and yelling and stuff before you go to school, by the time you get to school, you're already defeated. So then you're angry, you're hurt, so it just becomes a ripple effect. So I really appreciate what cared about, that energy that we pass on is so important. We don't understand that, us getting better and us being transparent and us being real with ourselves is bigger than us, right? It's bigger than us. So, and what good am I to anybody else if I'm just continually being damaged, right? So I appreciate you both for saying that, and I do want to, do you mind if I share this, Daryl, the number?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. Mm-hmm.
So I want to put this out too. Daryl did have this. This is his community number. I'm going to add here. If anybody that is watching that wants to, reach out, this is the number for his community number to text. And, if you want to just talk, one thing I will say, Daryl, I really appreciate what you're doing. And I can speak firsthand that Carlos really did implement that in his program. And I'm sure he will in the next. And, right now, Carlos, you're at a university. And there's a little bit of difference for me, just from what I've seen with working with different kids at different levels. When you deal with the children in JUCO, a lot of those kids, especially when my son played, those kids came from different type of backgrounds, right? Where some of them didn't have support, some of them did, and they really look to you as, a father figure, an uncle, a friend, whatever, a mentor. And it was really a blessing because they were able to talk to you. I think a lot of them talked to you very transparently. I mean, they told you stuff. I was like, okay. Because, and even talk to my son, I was happy that he felt comfortable with you. Because I know at first, he, y'all butt heads because he was so like, who is this guy trying to be my daddy? I'm like, but it's like, but you were challenging him, you were pushing him, and you were holding him accountable. And as he grew, he realized that you were doing it in love, and now you guys have a really good relationship. So I appreciate both of you guys for doing that. But it was funny at first. I was like, boy, you'll be all right.
Yeah. He almost didn't want to come back to his second year.
Yes, I remember he was looking for other schools, and then he realized though, Carlos, really sincerely, that you were genuinely there for him. And I think it helped too to see that you were just like that with all the other players too. You held everybody accountable. You were consistent, and that goes back to that consistency we were talking about. You were consistent with all of them, and he realized like, oh, wait a minute, this is just who he is. This is the fabric of him. You know what I'm saying? So once you get to that point, you realize things a little bit better. So.
And let's not act like he won. He won one of my best players too, though. So you got a little bit more patience.
Yeah, a little bit more patience. Good player. Probably too much patience. I was like, boy, you'll be all right. But no, I really appreciate you guys for what you're doing. Daryl, I really appreciate your work. In Second Chance, and that is so big to me. I mean, Next Play and Second Chance is really big to me because I really think about a lot of students that are lost. They're lost once they get, even after high school, when they play since they were in kindergarten, the little leagues and all this stuff, and then they aren't wanted in their mind. They aren't accepted to go on, and they feel like, what's next for me? Was I not good enough? Was it all a waste of time? So, I really appreciate that second chance because you had a second chance. So I really, really appreciate that. So.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And thank you, Carlos, for all that you do, man. You're on the front lines, my brother. I appreciate you. I always say that this way, man. Athlete transition was a problem pre-pandemic. And it's even more of a problem now. It is a underserved industry. So we'll take all the help we can get. We need more men and women who understand this message and want to help our student athletes and our former professional athletes and our forgotten athletes. Yeah. And so, man, I really appreciate you. There's no competition in the space. The more, the merrier. Thank you for having us. And we really appreciate it.
Yeah, and Daryl, and I want Daryl and Carlos both. I know we're winding up, but Daryl, I just want you to just give us just a few closing words, and then also if you want to tell the name of your next TED Talk, or if you're not going to say that yet, that's fine too. But it's totally up to you.
You have to text me to see.
Okay.
No, the name of my next TEDx talk is "Purpose: A Remedy for Depression."
Oh, okay.
So it's I just actually finished writing it this morning, and I was like, yeah, it's about to be fire. So yeah, my closing words is this, man. I never met a parent or a coach who wasn't already overwhelmed with all they're doing to try to help their child or their student athlete or their team be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say thank you for everybody who's doing everything you can with all your might. I know it's hard. I know it's heavy. I know we're trying to play catch up. I know many of us started behind. I know there's pressures. I know there's things you can't figure out. I know you're trying to help your kid go to college and you ain't even go yourself. It's hard out here. But here's one thing I know that there's resources available. Yeah. And if you'll look and you'll research and you'll do some internet stuff and you go to the library, you figure it out, you get committed, and that you can figure it out, not only will your child have a better life, your team have a better life, but you'll have a better life. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything that I can do, y'all reach out and ask for help, because let me tell you something. I talked to David Meltzer, who was a multi-millionaire, lost it all, gained it all back. Talks to some of the top people in the world. He's one of my business coaches. He told me that. I said, what's the number one thing you would tell your younger self? That's the one question we always want to know. He said, I would tell myself to ask for help sooner. Yep. Mm-hmm. So don't let pride rob you of someone who can help you. Ask, can you help me? Do you know somebody that can help me? Because we are in this together. That's my final words.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos.
So you can of course you can find me. I do a show from 6 to 7 9 10 a.m. Superstation on Sunday nights. A Next Play show with me and my co-host Lamar Woodley. You can find us there every Sunday. But as well, you can find us on our podcast, Next Play podcast. You go follow us on SoundCloud, as well as the Next Play Consulting LLC.com. One of the biggest things that I leave us with is you're one conversation away from having a conversation. And what I mean by that is we are so hesitant to open up and just say, hey, how you doing? Without actually understanding that there's so much behind it, from actually scraping the surface to actually understanding who a person is and how the way you can help. And so one of the biggest things that we say is every play is crucial. Get to the next play, and what I mean by that is that you have to celebrate the small things in life in order for you to truly appreciate your next step in life or that next play. And so a lot of things that we look to accomplish is leadership development, transferable skills development, but more importantly, just helping set out a roadmap. And one of the best things about a map is that you can always find detours. But as long as you get started down the map, you'll be okay. So let's get to the next play. So that's it for me.
Awesome. You know what? You guys both said some very powerful things and lasting. They're lasting words, because these are real. This is real. A lot of times people just don't know that they can ask for help. They don't feel comfortable even with their parents, And so that was one thing I was really adamant about, that my kids would feel comfortable talking to me about anything. And sometimes they talk about too. I'd be like, okay. But all right. But I'm happy that they feel comfortable doing that. But again, I thank you both for being so transparent, so available. And, just so open, because people need to hear that. Your students need to hear that. Your players need to hear that. Kids just need to hear that. So I appreciate you guys for what you do. And I encourage people to look into both of you all. Carlos, again, congratulations on your new venture in life. I mean, you are just going to keep going up. I mean, you have a lot to offer, and they lost a good thing and you gained something even better. So I'm really happy for you. And Daryl, congratulations on your next TED Talk. That's really incredible. I plan to be there one day. I'm getting there. I'm going. Yeah. I'll be there. I'll be up there soon. And, on your book too. If you want to tell people your book again too, Daryl, I didn't put that up here. I'm sorry. I usually try to do that. But what's the name?
It's Who Am I After Sports? It's available on Amazon. An athlete's roadmap to discover new purpose, live fulfilled. Go get it. It's I think $14 for the paperback and like $19 for the hardcover. So awesome. Go get it, man. It's great stuff. I outline my story, my challenge with mental health, and I talk about a 5-step roadmap that helped me go from suicide to success. So,
good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's one thing I've really enjoyed about this is meeting people and being able to get their books and just kind of learn a little bit more about them. And I know Carlos has a book coming because he sure can write a book. I just love what you said, Daryl, too, about how this is not about competition. It's room for all of us at the table. And if we just kind of, reach back, reach up, reach to the side, wherever, just help each other out, it's just a beautiful thing. So I appreciate, this brotherhood right here that is taking place today. Again, thank you guys for sharing your stories. It's really important that people hear. So thank you so much, you guys. And you guys have a beautiful, beautiful night.
Thank you so
much.
Thank
you for having me.
Take care.
All right.
Well, awesome. That was another great show. I'm just so excited. Wow, that was really good information. They were both very transparent, very open, and we need that. We need to be transparent with each other. And it's important also, if you want people to be transparent, to provide a safe space for them to do that, so for them to feel safe in. So again, thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate that information they gave, because a lot of students, male, female, or other, just need to hear that and need to know that, the real truths behind playing sports and just some next steps, the next play and a second chance after. So I encourage you guys to really follow their work. They're doing great things in our community. So you guys have a great night, and I'll see you guys next time.